Welcome back, everybody. We are here today with episode 234 of the Integrative Health Coach Success Podcast. I'm Dr. Stephen Cabral, board-certified doctor of naturopathy and founder of the Integrative Health Practitioner Institute. Excited to get into today's topic because it is one that I have a lot of experience with. One where when I was first starting out in the late 90s and early 2000s, I had lots of experience with clients leaving my practice. I wouldn't necessarily know why, but through trial and error and also watching and modeling other people that were much older than me, I was 18 years old or so at the time, I got to understand the kind of psychology behind being a client as well. One of the reasons that this is a challenge for a lot of us is that we haven't necessarily been clients of other practitioners or other organizations. And one of the things I can share with you very specifically that helped me the most, and it was before I opened my functional medicine wellness practice, is that I went around to every high-end spa and organization that I could find in Boston, Massachusetts, and even outside of Boston, Massachusetts. And I wanted to learn. I very specifically said to myself, I'm going to invest a certain amount of money to going to all of these places and getting different types of treatments. Now, of course, that was amazing. It was great for my own body, right? But what I was really doing was I was studying. I was saying, what are the amazing things that these clinics and wellness spas and high-end boutique studios were doing that I haven't thought about before? And also, what did I not like? And I paid just as much attention to the things that I didn't like as the ones that I did, because sometimes they were too expensive to implement, right? If a place is I know one of the places that was built out on Newbury Street in Boston, beautiful, location, $10 million build out for this big, beautiful wellness spa. And actually, they would still be around here today, but they were just before their time. They built out one of these anti-aging spas back in like 2008, 2009. And it wasn't the downturn in 2008 that had them go out of business. They actually went out of business maybe like 2015, 2016 or so. And the issue was they were just so far before their time. Like they were talking about stem cells and lasers like way before. But anyway, so that's why sometimes you don't want to be too early. But what I wanted to share with you is that we can learn a lot from our successes, but we have to try to learn from our mistakes, but even better is to learn from someone else's mistakes. So what I want to share with you are the real reasons, I've got 5 here today, of why clients leave you and your practice. Now, just one more caveat. I also had the good fortune of working in the gym industry. And you might say, well, what does that have to do with wellness? Well, when you have a gym, you often have thousands of members. So thousands of members. And the interesting thing is this: gyms have enormous amounts of churn. What does churn mean? Churn is the number of members or clients you lose on a monthly basis. So if you have, let's say a 10% churn rate, you're basically out of business in under a year, right? In 10 months or so, like meaning 10% of your people leave every single month. It's not ideal. In gyms, that's not uncommon. So you're always then replacing with new members. Here's the problem with gym models in general. So you've got a gym facility that can maybe hold 100 or 200 people at the same time, maximum. That's with classes, all that. But you've got a couple thousand members. So now you have to hope that they just come at different times throughout the day, right? So utilization is what we call it. And then after that, you also have to hope that not all of your members actually come every single day or every single week. And so what gyms found is that, and this is pretty wild, that they have a overall utilization rate in the gym, like for all of their members, of on a weekly basis around 13% or so. It's wild, like 13%. So around, and it's very interesting because about 13% of the population in the United States essentially belongs to a gym or exercises, et cetera. And then out of the gyms, well, about 13% of the people who actually belong to a gym go on a weekly basis. Now, some gyms will be less, some gyms will be more. What does that look like? Well, on a 2,000 person gym, 260 people are coming on a weekly basis. So, not a ton of people, that's not. Now, higher utilization rates. I was at one of those gyms in Boston, Massachusetts. It wasn't my gym. I was just a young personal trainer and nutritionist back then. They had a utilization rate of just over 1/3. That caused major issues with this gym, even though I think it was around 80,000 square feet, this gym. It was huge. What was the issue? The issue was too many people were actually coming. So they had about 5,000 members, and they had a little over 1/3 utilization rate on a weekly basis. So what does that mean? Well, it means like 1,500 to 2,000 people would come on a weekly basis. That's an enormous number of people to come, even though it's an 80,000 square foot gym. So what they had to start to do was actually limit the times when people would come. They sold memberships that were called off-peak memberships between 10 and 2 or 10 and 3. And that was really smart of them because there were a lot of people who would just come during those times. Okay, but I digress. Why did I go into that in the first place? One of the number one reasons why you have greater churn or people leaving your business, any business in the world, is they don't consume the product. I want to let that sink in for a minute because a lot of times the goal of the gym is to have less members come. The gym that I was at, not my gym, was one of the most profitable gyms in the entire world. They had a high customer utilization rate. That is ultimately what you want. Why would it make sense? Why would it turn the entire gym industry on its head if you actually said less members, maybe, but higher utilization rate? The reason is the members don't leave. They like the product. They're using it. They're consuming it. They're making it part of their routine, their habit. They're meeting other people. Absolutely amazing. What did this gym also find that I worked at was that personal training clients were less likely to leave as members. Of course, right? Why? They had a personal connection at the gym. They had an appointment where they needed to show up. They were actually consuming the product, which is their gym membership. That really stuck with me. It was very interesting because sometimes, again, you have to understand, I'm 22 years old. I'm at this gym. I'm the youngest. There's one other person as young as I am, 22 years old, and the personal trainers go all the way into their 50s. I had no idea that you could even be a personal trainer in your 50s. And I had a lot to learn. I mean, literally right out of school. And so the only thing I had going for me is that I had studied nutrition in depth. So I was like one of 3 people with an in-depth background in nutrition. So I learned a lot of personal training and fitness and strength and conditioning from the other personal trainers there. There were 33 of us who started at the same time, which is another whole story. But I learned a lot also in terms of the business aspects of it. In the beginning, I was exhausted, right? I would do 8 appointments per day easily, and I was tired. They were hour-long appointments. And I was still a sick kid until 27 years old. Like I was just pushing through it, fighting through it. That was basically it. I mean, that was my mantra. It's just like, keep pushing, right? Fight again for another day. And I would be happy when a client wouldn't show up. It wasn't that I didn't want to see them. There was a couple clients. I mean, we all have those clients, right? But the truth is, I was exhausted and I just wanted the break. But the clients who showed up the least, who had the most cancellations, guess what? They ended up most likely not renewing at the end of their 12-week package. So I began to realize you actually want your clients to show up. You want your clients to consume. So this goes for all industries. Get your people to consume. All right? We'll start to go a little bit more in depth on this. Number 2 is this. You don't know, right, what they truly want. I think this is really important. So a client comes into you, comes in for health coaching. Let's move it from personal training back to health coaching. Okay. And I still want to bring it back to personal training, which we'll do in just a moment. But they come to you and they say, listen, I really want to lose weight. I really want to, be able to fit in X size, clothing. Okay, that's why they came in. But you say, you know what? Totally get it. And in personal training, I saw other personal trainers do this. Like, we need to improve your squat. We need to improve your ankle mobility or your range of motion in your squat. We need to improve your, lower back stiffness, right? Because I was there right when National Academy of Sports Medicine and the whole, functional movement screen and all those things showed up. So personal trainers love the information. It's not what their clients wanted. And so there was a disconnect between giving your clients what they want and also giving them what they needed, right? So I realized my clients are my boss. They're paying me to do a job that I loved, and I absolutely loved the work. So I said, I'm going to give them exactly what they want. I'm going to do it in a safe way, but at the same time, instead of me doing a 20-minute warm-up, which a lot of these other personal trainers would do, I would just work it in as active rest between their sets, right? So I'd have them do a tricep, and then I'd have them work on maybe some ankle mobility instead of just standing there. And I could be chatting with them and developing that relationship, which I did. And it really worked for me. So there was about, eventually there would be about 55 personal trainers at this gym. And there was about 10 of us that would do 120 sessions or more per month. They called it the 120 Club. And what that meant was that every single month you were basically doing 120 sessions or more. And I was not the most skilled personal trainer, that is for sure. So 22 years old, I had a decade or 2 decades less experience than many of the others there in terms of the personal training. What I was able to start to understand, because I had also a nutrition background, is to get the clients the result they wanted. And 70% of those to maybe 80% wanted body transformation, giving them what they wanted, helping them lose the weight while at the same time then they're like, oh, wow, my back no longer hurts. Okay, yeah, because we were sneaking that in, right? We were giving you what you needed, but in the front, right on the outside, giving you exactly what you came in for. All right, the third one is this. You don't know the true reasons why they came to you. So this is a little bit different. So they might say to you, I want to lose weight, right? I want to get healthy, all these things. But really, their issues were with low self-esteem, or they were with not feeling good about their body. And the mistake that can be made here is they came in with a specific goal, but it's the way that you go about that, the phrasing that you use, and how you are building them up. And this is a big part of the personal aspect to health coaching, personal training, nutrition, massage, etc., is that each client's a little bit different. The way that you speak to them is a little bit different. How I spoke to my clients throughout my entire career, if they were an aggressive type A hedge fund manager, analyst, etc., was different than how I spoke to the person who came in that was depressed, low mood, maybe body conscious-based issues. It was radically different. And I realized that what they told me wasn't always the real reason why they came to me. And so no matter who they were, I started to learn more about them with all subsequent conversations after our initial appointment. And I would make just little notes. And I would say, again, nothing that would reveal anything private, but I would start to learn more about them, how they really felt by basically the words they used and how they referred themselves, their body, etc. And I would begin to help build themselves up, build up their self-image over the weeks and months that we worked together. And that was one more reason that I believed I was able to really and hopefully continue to work with great clients, is that there's a relationship-based level to it, and you're not just working on the body, you're working on the psychology as well, or not just the physiology, but the psychology. Really important right there. All right, the fourth one is this. Sometimes the programs that you give them and the next level that you are working on, they no longer enjoy it. It's just no longer fun. We have to understand is that adult humans are still basically like little kids. I mean, we really are, right? You're probably an adult listening to this. So the truth is you want to be entertained. And that was the thing. I also learned this back personal training. A lot of these lessons, they came from my early development. I saw that the personal trainers who took people through very regimented programs, and they were good scientifically, the clients weren't that engaged. They didn't necessarily stick with them, and they sometimes moved on to another personal trainer. The ones who didn't always know as much, but put together engaging, entertaining, challenging programs that shifted every 4 weeks, even though maybe they could have done 6 weeks or 8 weeks, ended up retaining the clients much longer. Because at the end of the day, even the information we consume, we want to be engaged. We want to be entertained in some way. It has to be fun. Now, how do you use this with health coaching? Well, it's not always, right? It's not always fun. It's not always those things, but I disagree in ways that you let your client know and I'm going to talk about this in the fifth point in a moment, what's coming next. And also that there's phases. So like, let's take, for example, a client wants to, let's say they come to us and they want to lose weight the healthy way. All right, we're going to do their metabolic lab testing first. Then they're going to do a 21-day functional medicine detox. We use Equilife, of course. You can use anyone you want. Then after that, they know they look forward to a cheat meal or a flex meal. Great. Anything they want, enjoy. Excellent. Then we move on to phase 1 of fat velocity, which is specifically 3 weeks. So they're kind of moving through these 3-week chunks, and they know that the entire first phase is 12 weeks. So what they're looking at now is finite periods of time that are shifting essentially every 4 weeks or so. And those increments allow them to then become re-engaged that next month. That has always been extremely helpful for us. We've done assessments. We do that inside of HPH right now, which I'm going to talk about next, the monthly assessments and then the quarterly assessments. So they know that there's something next. All right. So that leads me to my fifth and last point. Let clients know there's a next level. It's why I always, even when I used to teach tons of personal trainers and fitness people, it's like, you don't want to start with your most challenging exercises. One, it's unsafe, but also you want to let your clients see, oh, you see that person over there doing atomic push-ups with the TRX, their feet in the TRX straps? Yeah, we'll get there soon, but not today. Like you want to get them to also earn that. So safety-wise, but also they know that that's like becoming a brown belt in martial arts, right? And then it takes a little bit to get to a black belt. So you want to let them know what's next. So what we have is basically a lot of the anti-aging based routines. So we do that in high performance health. It means that there is kind of like no ultimate level, that we are literally trying to ascend the entire spectrum of overall anti-aging and life extension. So if you haven't done sauna yet, great, we'll start to add that. If you've never done red light, we can add that. If you've never done cold, we can add that. If you've never done PMF mat, we can do that. If you've never done vibrational based plates, we can do that. Like there's never an end to it. Oh, okay, you've got your walking in, you got your strength training in. Do you do any cardiovascular? Could you pass a 1.5 mile run test? Yes or no, right? Like, so we have all of these different things like, oh, maybe this will be my next goal then over the next 4 weeks to 12 weeks. And we say, yeah, that's an excellent one. So it keeps them constantly engaged. And that's what it's really all about in your practice, is delivering the results that you promised, but at the end of the day, also keeping your clients engaged. And if they're engaged, they're going to consume, right? And if they're engaged, then you're helping them with why they came in, while working on the deeper underlying root causes of what they may not have said. At the same time, of course, it's fun. It's no longer monotonous. It's always kind of shifting and moving, and the targets become greater, and they're always then striving for that next level. One of the best ways that I know for the real reasons why clients leave, if you can begin to work on those things from the beginning, you're going to have a thriving, amazing practice where clients love to come to see you, and you get lots of referrals from them. Hopefully today's show is helpful. For all the show notes, the 3 big takeaways, head on over to ihp.coach/234. Take care.